Today I want to share something with you that most people have never even heard of, yet it's shaping your health, your energy, your immunity, and even the way you age every single day. We all know about DNA, about genetics, and many of us have been told that our health is basically written in stone because of our genes. If you have strong genes, you'll be healthy. If you have weak genes, well, tough luck. But that's not the whole story. In fact, modern science has revealed something far more powerful than your genes. It's called the exposome. Now, I know that sounds like a big complicated word, but the idea is actually very simple. The exposome is the sum of all the exposures you experience, from the air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink, the chemicals in your environment, the stress you carry, the sleep you do or don't get, even your social connections. All of these exposures collectively shape your biology every single day. Think of it like a garden. If you take a seed and plant it in rich soil, give it clean water, plenty of sunlight, and protect it from toxins, it will grow into its full potential. But if you put that same seed into polluted soil, give it dirty water, block the sunlight, and expose it to chemicals, it will struggle. It won't grow the way it's supposed to. The seed's DNA hasn't changed, but the environment determines its fate. That's exactly how it works with us. Our DNA is the blueprint, but our exposome is what turns the switches on or off in that blueprint. This is what we call epigenetics, the ability of lifestyle and environment to literally control which of our genes are activated. And this is why your health is not predetermined. In fact, 80 to 90% of your health outcomes are not about your genes at all, but about your exposome. That's an incredibly empowering idea, because how many times have we heard people say, Doctor, diabetes runs in my family, heart disease runs in my family, cancer runs in my family, I guess that's my fate. But the truth is very different. Yes, genes can increase your risk, but the exposome decides whether that risk actually turns into reality. Imagine you have a family history of type 2 diabetes. If you live on processed food, sugar, refined carbs, live a sedentary lifestyle, carry constant stress, and don't sleep well, you are basically sending your body a signal to turn that diabetes gene on. But if you do the opposite, if you eat real whole foods, move your body regularly, sleep deeply, manage your stress, and create a healing environment, those same genes can remain silent. You are essentially neutralizing your genetic risk. That's the power of the exposome. And here's the thing, the exposome isn't just about one or two factors. It's about the cumulative effect of thousands of little exposures happening every single day. Think about it. Every time you drink out of a plastic bottle, you're exposed to chemicals. Every time you eat conventionally grown produce sprayed with pesticides, you're exposed to toxins. Every time you walk along a busy, polluted street, breathe in chemicals from your cleaning products, or apply cosmetics full of endocrine disruptors, those exposures add up. And it doesn't stop there. Your stress, your lack of sleep, your loneliness, your disconnection from nature, all of these are also part of your exposome, and they all add up day after day, year after year, silently shaping your biology. Most chronic diseases don't just appear overnight. They are the result of these cumulative exposures quietly building inside you for years. I want you to start seeing your daily choices through a new lens. When you put something in your body, food, drink, even thoughts, ask yourself, this is becoming part of my exposome. When you step outside and wait, LK through polluted air, realize this is going into my exposome. When you stay up late scrolling on your phone and neglecting sleep, that is an exposure too. On the flip side, when you eat nourishing food, when you breathe deeply and practice relaxation, when you spend time in nature, when you create space for gratitude and connection, these are positive exposures. They are healing signals to your body, changing your exposome in real time. That's how powerful this concept is. It's happening every minute of every day. What's even more fascinating is that the exposome isn't just physical, it's also social and emotional. Your relationships, your community, your sense of connection, all of this becomes part of your exposome. Studies show that loneliness, isolation, or toxic relationships are as damaging to health as smoking or obesity. They weaken your immune system, raise inflammation, and increase the risk of chronic disease. On the other hand, love, support, friendships, belonging, all of these exposures act like medicine. They calm your nervous system, balance your hormones, strengthen your resilience. So when we talk about the exposome, it's not just about the air you breathe or the food you eat. It's also about the people you surround yourself with and the energy you live in. Modern science is clear on this. The exposome plays a massive role in almost every chronic disease. What most people call normal aging, the fatigue, the memory lapses, the joint pain, the digestive problems, the depression, the anxiety, the hormone issues, so much of it is not just about getting older, it's about years of unhealthy exposures building up inside you. And here's the good news. When you change your exposures, your health can change dramatically, often faster than you think. This is why in functional medicine, we don't just treat symptoms, we address the environment, the lifestyle, the exposures, because that's where the real healing happens. When we talk about the exposome, one of the most important things to understand is that it doesn't act in isolation. It's not like one chemical. One toxin, one bad night of sleep suddenly causes disease. It's the constant layering of these exposures, like stacking bricks one on top of another, until eventually the wall is too heavy and it collapses. This is why someone can seem fine for years. Eating poorly, being stressed, not sleeping, living in polluted environments, and then suddenly one day they're diagnosed with diabetes or autoimmune disease or heart disease. It wasn't that the disease showed up out of nowhere. It was years, maybe decades, of cumulative exposures silently building up until the body could no longer cope. That's the power and the danger of the exposome. Think about your body like a bathtub. Every day, toxins, stress, unhealthy food, lack of sleep, loneliness, all these exposures pour into the tub. The body has an incredible drain system, detoxification pathways in your liver, kidneys, lymph, and gut. But when the inflow is greater than the outflow, when your tub is filling faster than it can empty, it eventually overflows. That overflow shows up as symptoms: fatigue, brain fog, gut issues, skin problems, or worse, chronic disease. The goal isn't to live in a bubble or avoid every single exposure, because that's impossible, but to slow the inflow and strengthen the outflow so your bathtub never spills over. That's how you master your exposome. Let's look at one major piece of the exposome: food. Food is not just calories, it's information. Every bite you eat is sending a message to your body, telling your genes to either heal or to harm. Processed food, sugar, refined carbs, unhealthy oils, they send inflammatory signals, they disrupt your microbiome, they raise your blood sugar and insulin, they overload your liver. That's a negative exposome input. On the other hand, whole foods, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, clean protein, healthy fats, send healing signals. They reduce inflammation. They nourish your microbiome, they support detoxification, they stabilize your energy. When you realize that food is one of the most powerful parts of your exposome, suddenly every meal becomes an opportunity to upgrade your health. You are literally programming your biology 3 times a day. But food is just the beginning. Let's talk about environmental toxins. We live in a world today where tens of thousands of chemicals are circulating in our air, water, soil, and consumer products. Many of these were never tested for safety before being released. They're in our cleaning supplies, our plastics, our cosmetics, our furniture, even our drinking water. These chemicals act as endocrine disruptors, meaning they interfere with our hormones. They act as obesogens, meaning they literally trigger weight gain regardless of calories. They damage mitochondria, impair brain function, weaken the immune system. The scary part is you don't see it happening day to day. It's invisible. But over years, these exposures add up, and suddenly people are dealing with infertility, thyroid issues, autoimmune disease, or cancers. Again, it's not random. It's the exposome at work. Now, let's not forget about stress, one of the most underestimated exposures. Chronic stress literally rewires your biology. It keeps your nervous system in fight or flight mode, pumping out cortisol and adrenaline. Short bursts of stress are fine. We're built to handle that. But when stress is unrelenting, when you never switch back into rest and repair mode, it damages your gut, disrupts your hormones, suppresses your immune system, and even shrinks your brain's memory center, the hippocampus. That's right. Stress actually changes your brain structure. This is why stress is such a huge part of the exposome. And unlike chemical exposures, which can sometimes be harder to control, stress is one area where lifestyle practices like meditation, breathing exercises, prayer, time in nature, gratitude, or even simply deep rest can transform your exposome dramatically. Sleep is another hidden factor. We think of Salah. Sleep is downtime, but it's actually prime time for healing. During deep sleep, your brain detoxifies, clearing out waste proteins linked to Alzheimer's. Your body repairs tissues, balances hormones, and resets metabolism. When you skimp on sleep, it's like leaving your house dirty every night with garbage piling up day after day. Over time, that sleep debt becomes a toxic exposure in itself. In fact, chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to almost every chronic disease you can think of: obesity, diabetes, heart disease, dementia. So yes, sleep sleep is part of your exposome, and it matters as much as food or toxins. And then there's the gut microbiome, which is like the central hub of your exposome. Every exposure you encounter, food, stress, chemicals, infections, interacts with your gut microbiome. If you feed it junk, bombard it with antibiotics, or stress it with chemicals, it becomes imbalanced, or what we call dysbiosis. That imbalance doesn't just cause digestive symptoms. It can affect your mood, your immune system, your skin, your hormones, even your cravings. On the flip side, when you nurture your microbiome with fiber, fermented foods, polyphenols, prebiotics, it thrives. And a thriving microbiome protects you, detoxifies you, and strengthens your resilience against harmful exposures. So your gut is really at the center of this whole exposome conversation. Let's also not forget one of the most healing exposures of all, nature. Our biology evolved in nature: sunlight, fresh air, clean water, natural rhythms. But today, most of us live indoors, surrounded by artificial light, disconnected from the earth. This disconnection is itself a toxic exposure. Studies show that time in nature reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, boosts immunity, even changes gene expression. Sunlight alone, through vitamin D, is a massive signal to your body, regulating mood, image, unity, and metabolism. So every time you step outside, breathe deeply, and connect with the natural world, you're upgrading your exposome in ways modern medicine can barely replicate. Finally, remember the role of social connection. Humans are wired for community. Isolation and loneliness are as harmful to your health as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. That's how powerful this exposure is. When you feel supported, loved, and connected, your body interprets it as safety, and healing becomes possible. But when you feel alone, abandoned, or trapped in toxic relationships, your body stays in survival mode. Connection is medicine. Disconnection is poison. It's as simple as that. So now that we understand the exposome is shaping our health every second of every day, the next question is, what can we actually do about it? Because it's one thing to understand the theory, but if it just sits in your head as information, nothing changes. The power is in action. Small, daily shifts that slowly change your exposures from harmful to healing. And the beauty of the exposome is that it's dynamic. It's not fixed. Every single choice you make, every single day, either adds weight to the disease side of the scale or the health side of the scale. That means you're never stuck. You can always start tipping the balance in your favor. Let's start with food, because food is the fastest and most powerful way to change your exposome. Imagine your body as a computer, and food is the software. If you keep loading your system with junk code, processed food, refined sugar, artificial chemicals, your body glitches, it slows down, it crashes. But if you give it clean, nutrient-rich code, real food, fresh vegetables, good fats, clean protein, it runs smoothly. And this doesn't take years to notice. People often feel a difference in days. Brain fog lifts, energy returns, inflammation drops. So one of the simplest exposome upgrades you can make is this: eat food that looks like food. If it was made in a plant, don't eat it. If it came from a plant, do eat it. That one principle can change your biology faster than you can imagine. Next, let's talk about detoxifying your daily environment. You don't need to go live in the mountains or drink green juices all day. You just need to make a few smart swaps. For example, switch your plastic water bottles to a stainless steel or glass bottle. Choose cleaning products without toxic chemicals. Vinegar, baking soda, and natural cleaners can do the job without exposing you to hormone disruptors. Read labels on your skincare and personal care products. If you can't pronounce half the ingredients, your body won't be happy with them either. These simple steps reduce the toxic load pouring into your bathtub every day, and they really do make a difference over time. Now let's address stress. I can't tell you how many patients come to me convinced their illness is purely physical, but when we peel back the layers, it becomes clear that years of unrelenting stress are at the root of their symptoms. Stress is like an invisible toxin, and it can be just as damaging as smoking or junk food. But here's the amazing part. Your body also responds very quickly when you introduce calming exposures. Just 10 minutes of deep breathing, meditation, gratitude journaling, or prayer can shift your nervous system out of fight or flight and into healing mode. And the more often you practice, the more resilient you become. Think of stress management not as a luxury, but as an essential part of your health toolkit, just like food, sleep, or exercise. And speaking of sleep, let's be clear. You cannot out-supplement, out-exercise, or out-diet a lack of sleep. Sleep is non-negotiable. It's the foundation of the exposome. When you sleep, your brain literally washes itself with cerebrospinal fluid, clearing out toxins. Your body resets hormones like insulin and cortisol. Your immune system does surveillance, seeking out precancerous cells and viruses. skip sleep, and you short circuit all of that. But restore sleep, aim for 7 to 9 hours of deep restorative rest, and you'll feel the difference in everything from your mood to your metabolism. So yes, when you prioritize sleep, you're reshaping your exposome in a profound way. Another huge factor is movement. Notice I didn't just say exercise, I said movement, because it's not about spending an hour in the gym and then sitting all day at your desk. It's about weaving natural movement into your daily life. Walk, stretch, take the stairs, dance, do body weight exercises at home. Movement increases circulation, activates lymphatic detox, balances blood sugar, improves mood. It literally changes the chemistry of your exposome. Think of exercise not just as burning calories, but as sending powerful healing signals to your body every single time you move. And let's circle back to social connection, because I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to radically upgrade your exposome, surround yourself with people who lift you up, who support your growth, who share positive energy. Limit time with toxic relationships that drain you. Build community, whether through family, friends, faith groups, or even simple shared activities. Science shows that connection is one of the most protective exposures we have against disease. It lowers stress hormones, strengthens immunity, and even lengthens telomeres, which are the caps on your DNA that determine how fast you age. Connection literally slows aging at the cellular level. That's how profound it is. Now, here's something many people overlook: mindset. The thoughts you think every day, the beliefs you hold, the stories you tell yourself. These are also exposures. Like if you wake up every morning thinking, I'm sick, I'm broken, nothing ever works out for me, that thought pattern floods your body with stress chemistry. But if you shift that narrative, if you start your day with gratitude, with possibility, with even a small affirmation of health, your biology shifts too. Mindset isn't about ignoring reality. It's about creating the conditions for your body to heal. And science supports this. Your beliefs influence gene expression, immunity, and recovery. Your exposome includes your inner environment just as much as your outer one. And I want to be clear, this is not about perfection. You don't need to eliminate every toxin, eat 100% organic, meditate for hours, or live stress-free to change your health. That's unrealistic. The exposome is about accumulation, which means every little change matters. If you swap one toxic exposure for a clean one today, that's a win. If you go to bed an hour earlier, that's a win. If you spend 5 minutes outside in nature, that's a win. These small shifts compound over time, turning your exposome into a healing environment instead of a harmful one. That's the real takeaway. You are not powerless. You are not trapped by your genes. You are an active participant in your health, moment by moment, choice by choice. And the more you understand the exposome, the more empowered you are to shape your future. One of the most important things to remember about the exposome is that it's not just about avoiding harm, it's about actively creating health. Many people think, okay, if I just stop eating junk food, if I just stay away from chemicals, if I just reduce stress, then I'll be fine. And yes, removing harmful exposures is critical, but the other side of the equation is equally powerful, adding in positive healing exposures that actively build resilience and strengthen your body. Because health isn't just the absence of disease, it's the presence of vitality, and your exposome has the power to generate that vitality when you feed it the right inputs. Think about food again. It's not enough to just avoid processed food. You also want to flood your body with nutrient-dense, colorful plants with phytonutrients, antioxidants, and fibers that literally talk to your genes and switch on healing pathways. Berries, dark leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale, spices like turmeric and ginger. These aren't just healthy choices. They're medicine. They're powerful exposures that strengthen detoxification, lower inflammation, protect your DNA, and even slow the aging process. So instead of just asking, what should I cut out, and start asking, what healing exposures can I add in? The same goes for your environment. Yes, reduce plastics and toxic chemicals, but also add in clean exposures. Open your windows and let fresh air circulate. Get houseplants that filter toxins from the air. Use natural light whenever possible instead of harsh artificial lighting. Spend a few minutes barefoot on the grass, grounding your body to the earth. These small positive exposures accumulate just as much as the negative ones. Over time, they shift your biology toward healing. And then there's movement. A lot of people look at exercise as punishment, as something they have to do to burn calories. But I want you to reframe it. Movement is one of the most healing exposures you can give your body. Every time you move, your muscles release molecules called myokines that reduce inflammation, boost brain function, and improve insulin sensitivity. Movement also activates your lymphatic system, which is like your body's detox drainage network. And perhaps most importantly, movement sends your brain the signal that you are alive, strong, and safe, which dramatically lowers stress chemistry. So don't think of exercise as a chore. Think of it as medicine. And remember, it doesn't have to be extreme. Walking, stretching, dancing, yoga, these are all exposures that reshape your biology in powerful ways. Now let's talk about something deeper. Purpose. Purpose is a part of your exposome too. When you wake up each day with a sense of meaning, with something to contribute, with a reason to get out of bed, your biology reflects it. People who live with a strong sense of purpose actually live longer with lower rates of day. Sees and better resilience to stress. Purpose acts as a buffer against the harmful effects of negative exposures. On the other hand, when people feel aimless, disconnected, or hopeless, their health suffers dramatically. So ask yourself, what gives my life meaning? What makes me feel alive? What contribution do I want to make? Living with purpose is not just good for your soul. It's a healing exposure that rewires your body at the cellular level. Another critical aspect is joy. Yes, joy is medicine too. Laughter lowers stress hormones, boosts immune function, and releases endorphins that make you more resilient. Play, creativity, music, these are healing exposures we often overlook in our hyperproductive culture. But joy is not frivolous. It's essential. In fact, studies show that positive emotions don't just feel good in the moment. They create long-lasting biological changes that protect your heart, your brain, and your immune system. So part of mastering your exposome is giving yourself permission to experience joy every single day. Let's not forget the power of relationships. Earlier we talked about how loneliness is toxic, but connection isn't just neutral, it's actively healing. Sharing meals with loved ones, having meaningful conversations, hugging, laughing with friends. These exposures literally shift your nervous system into a state of safety and connection, which is where healing happens. Human touch, eye contact, community rituals, these are ancient exposures that our biology evolved with. When we're deprived of them, our health unravels. When we embrace them, our health flourishes. And one more area that deserves attention is your inner dialogue, the way you talk to yourself. Your self-talk is a constant exposure, moment by moment. If you're constantly criticizing yourself, replaying fears, telling yourself you're not enough, that negativity becomes a toxin. See exposure that shapes your hormones, your brain wiring, your stress chemistry. But when you shift to self-compassion, when you treat yourself with kindness, when you acknowledge progress instead of only focusing on failure, you create a healing exposure. You train your nervous system to feel safe, and safety is the foundation of healing. So the exposome isn't just about external things like food and chemicals. It's about your internal world, your emotions, your thoughts, your purpose, your joy. And when you start to see health through this lens, it's incredibly liberating because it means you don't need to chase the next magic supplement, the latest fad diet, or the newest gadget. You just need to consistently shape your daily exposures in the direction of health. Eat real food, move your body, sleep deeply, breathe, connect, spend time in nature, find joy, live with purpose. These aren't glamorous solutions, but they are the real medicine your body is craving. And here's the good news. The body is remarkably forgiving. Even if you've spent decades with negative exposures, the moment you start changing them, your body responds. Your genes don't hold grudges. They're waiting for the right signals. And when you give them those signals, healing begins. That's the incredible resilience of the human body.